Something something Game Gear, something something Sega vs. Nintendo, something something Pokemon consumes all. Sorry, I couldn't think of a good intro for this video here. Anyhow, today I will be reviewing Megami Tensei Gaiden Last Bible for the Sega Game Gear. Last Bible is a turn-based role-playing game for Sega's underrated little handheld. It was made by Atlus and is a spin-off of their Shin Megami Tensei series. Most of the recent games have been on Sony platforms, but back in the day, they were mainly on Nintendo and Sega consoles. The first time I played a game in the series was Shin Megami Tensei 4 for the Nintendo DS. I had heard of the series before, but I wasn't really that interested in it. That was until Nintendo made it so if you had a copy of Fire Emblem Awakening and Shin Megami Tensei 4, you would receive $30 on the eShop. I had already owned Fire Emblem, so I thought, what the hey, I'll give it a try. It was an excellent game, and currently stands as the second game I spent the most time playing on the 3DS. In this game, you play as a young man named L. He is one of the chosen who are able to use a power called Gaia, and studies to become a Gaia Master. Gaia is basically magic, and allows people to do things like use attack spells, teleport, and even talk with animals. On the day of his graduation, strange monsters appear causing havoc. They kidnap children, destroy towns, and try to steal the humans' orichalcum, magical orbs that are important for life surviving on their world. Along with two other human companions and monsters you can collect, L travels around the world to find out where the monsters came from and how to stop them. The series plays like a mixture between Pokemon and Final Fantasy. The main hook being that almost every monster that can be recruited are based on legendary creatures, gods, and folklore from around the world. So you can have Oberon from Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream fighting alongside Bigfoot and a succubus. Combat takes place in a first-person view that are similar to that of the Dragon Quest series. You can have up to 6 party members in battle and keep a few in reserve. The reserves can be switched in to take place of others fallen in battle, which comes in pretty handy against challenging bosses. You're able to use your typical physical attacks and elemental and stat-affecting magic to defeat your foes. Unlike in Pokemon, L actually fights alongside its monsters. Your 3 human characters can grow and learn powerful spells and attacks that complement your monster's abilities. It's important to remember though, that if you humans die, it's game over. So it's a good idea to put them in the back row of the combat line so your more durable and expendable monsters can take the brunt of attacks. Each monster comes with its own strength, weakness, and magic attacks. So it's best to have a variety of monsters on your team to cover anything thrown at you. Monsters also don't level up from combat, so getting new monsters is very important to progress through tougher areas. How you recruit monsters is pretty different as well. Unlike a game like Pokemon, where you need to weaken a foe to capture them, in this game, you get them to join by talking to them. When you talk with a monster, they will ask you a series of yes or no questions. Each monster will respond differently depending on how you answer. Some will like you and join up, some will be upset and attack you, and some will just flip you off and walk away. While a unique way to collect monsters, it does have a few issues. As far as I can tell, there are 3 sets of questions and each have several branching pathways of more questions. These same set of questions are used throughout the entire game, and each monster will only join up if you answer their specific line of questions. This means that there is a lot of trial and error trying to find the right branch for each monster. I personally have a really bad short-term memory when it comes to things like this, so often I had to use a paper and write down which branches I had already answered. There are ways around this though. Another unique mechanic is that you can fuse certain monsters together to make new, stronger ones. Some monsters can be difficult to recruit, so this gives you another choice in how to upgrade your team. Though the mixing and results can be a bit weird at times. Not sure how mixing a harpy with a wyvern makes a lynch. And honestly, I don't think I want to know how that works. You can also have your other party members automatically talk to the monsters for you. It's not a 100% guarantee it'll work, but more often than not, it got me the monster I wanted without all the fuss. The graphics are very impressive. I always forget how powerful the Game Gear was compared to the Game Boy. While playing this, I truly felt as if I was playing a Super NES or Genesis game. The overworld, towns, and dungeons maps are very bright and colorful, and enemy sprites are large and very well detailed. You'll fight everything from banshees, unicorns, and even gory undead dragons. As far as I can recall, there were no recolor enemies throughout the entire game. That's very impressive for an RPG of this time period. Also, like many Japanese games made during this time period, there is a decent amount of nudity on a lot of enemy sprites. The game is Japanese censored though, to where you can tell they're nude, but they have like doll anatomy, so you can't really see anything. Another thing to be aware of, similar to other games in the Shin Megami Tensei series, Last Bible uses the names of important figures from many religions from around the world. For example, some main characters being named after important angels and demons from Christianity. If this bothers you, you may want to avoid this series as it is used in every game as far as I can tell. This game technically did come out to the West. It was released as Revelations: The Demon Slayer for the Game Boy Color in August of 1999. There are some differences between the two versions though. When the game was brought to the West, a few changes had to be made. The story was given a different happy ending, and being on Nintendo's Game Boy, it has simpler graphics and sound, as well as having many of the enemy sprites that had nudity edited or replaced entirely with more family-friendly art. Being on a more powerful system, the Game Gear version had better graphics and sound. It also has a different true ending and a challenging extra boss fight. From what I've been told, this is considered the definitive version of the game and is more in line with the story in Last Bible 2 and 3. There were a few sections where I was too low level to recruit new monsters and had to spend a bit of time grinding before I was able to move on. Fortunately, this didn't happen often, and as stated before, being able to fuse weaker monsters into stronger ones helped to speed things along. I enjoyed this game a lot. It had great graphics, fun gameplay, an interesting story, and took around 25 to 30 hours to beat. I admit I haven't played that many Game Gear games, but so far, this is one of the best RPGs on the system. It's right up there with Sylvan Tale and Crystal Warriors as a must-play. While this version of Last Bible was only released in Japan, there is an English patch released by Tom's Translations and their crew. Thanks again, Tom and crew, for allowing us to play this amazing gem in English. You're awesome. If you want to own a physical copy, I've seen prices ranging from $11 to $50 online. Thanks for watching. This has been Megabullet J. If you like what you saw, like and subscribe. Man, now I really want to see a Pokemon vs. Shin Megami Tensei game. Pikachu vs. Bigfoot. Now that's a fight I pay to see. See you next mission. That was Untitled. Blah, 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 blah. I'm not really sure how mixing a harpy with a Revan? We're gonna say that later. Revan? Mixing a harpy with a Revan? Is that how you say it? Revan? I'll look that up later. I'll redo this part and look that up later. Oh god. That put so many horrible images in my head. Oh, why did I think about that? Wow.